Denny behind Dwop. Barnes picks him up as he drives right. Crosses, step back three. Buries it. 14 in the quarter for Denny Avdia. He is 5 of 7 from the floor. He's made both threes. Only Blazer to make a three. And it's a 2-point game, 28-26.
Oh, that was just a little sample of the game that we got the other night in wherever city they were. Oh, yeah, Toronto. The North, even though Portland's the more North. I like to make sure that we reiterate that. Latitude and longitude, geography, it all matters. But they went into Toronto, and boy, I thought they had a pretty good game, all things considered. They had about half their roster, and then they left Toronto with less than that because both Dwop Reith and Tumani Kamara went down, did not return to the game. We're waiting to hear the latest update from the Trailblazers on that, but the Blazers did grab a 112-103 victory. Denny Avdia, as I said, that was a little sample of how good he was. 26 points, 15 boards. They needed it all from him. And then, of course, Shaedon Sharpe, 36 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. And as the Haber stat man, Tom Haberstroy pointed out, the most points ever by a visiting Canadian playing in Toronto. I love that stat. Some people are like, that's too much. No, I like it. It's baseball style. You got to give me all the stats. Most points ever scored by a player in an arena when the inside temperature is 65 degrees or lower. That's a baseball stat right there. Maybe NBA will start doing that. We'll see. We'll see. Either way, though, the Blazers grab the victory, continue to cling on to hope, not clinging to hope of getting into the play-in. 5 games left, and they're sitting there looking at a real chance. There's a real chance because it's there. It's in front of us. It could happen. Doesn't mean it's necessarily realistic. We'll talk about it today, though, with our guest. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't use the term guest. He's our family over here, our buddy, our partner, our Trailblazers insider from the Rose Garden Report, Sean Highkin, joining me in studio today. Welcome in, Sean.
I guess we can call it guest. I'm not on every one of them. So when are you saying that when I'm on, it's not special?
I'm saying that you're more than just a guest to me. Okay.
All right.
Like we're family here. You're my brother. We're doing this together.
Sir.
Okay.
I mean, if we're gonna be real, I'm the one that brings Sean on game day like every time. So I might be more family, Chris.
See, that's not fair because Chad steals him from me.
That's
Okay.
Brendan is making some points here. I have to say.
See?
Yeah, but I come up and I do the show every single home game, and there you are sitting in my seat because Chad steals you.
I mean, this is true. It's kind of a catch-22, no doubt.
Can't have you on. Hey, you want to do that hit with Chad and then come right back up here 20 minutes later to do another one? Yeah, that's where Sean looks at me. He's like, yeah, that's tough. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Touche. All right, but the Blazers, Sean, things are getting a little crazy here. They won 2 after losing 4 in a row. 5 games left. And man, I've said this a few times, and you got to keep saying it. If you would have told me back in November that come April 4th, the Blazers would still not be mathematically eliminated from the play-in, sitting 2.5 games back of Sacramento, I would have told you you're crazy.
And it very well could. They've won 2 in a row now. They beat Atlanta. They beat Toronto. It very well could be a 5-game winning streak coming up here because this Chicago team that they're playing right now, I know the Bulls are in the play-in. They've clinched a play-in spot in the East, but that team is actually not, that's not a team the Blazers can't beat. And then the next 2 games they have after that, they come home on Sunday, they play San Antonio, and then they go to Utah, who is maybe the most actively not trying to win games of any team in the league. So I don't know. This could get interesting in the last week of the season.
It could really get interesting. And where there's a couple things you got to know is that obviously those last 2 games of the year, Golden State and Los Angeles, things are so tight in the West right now. Los Angeles has a 1-game lead over Golden State for the 4th seed. I mean, those 2 teams very well could still be trying to win every game they can for seeding purposes. So I don't necessarily see a LeBron or Steph sitting out. I see a team trying to win. And then, of course, you're trying to gain ground on Phoenix and Sacramento. And the last game of the year for those 2 teams happens to be against each other. So you're guaranteed that one of the 2 teams ahead of you is going to keep a game ahead of you or gain that game. So that makes it just a little bit rougher.
There's a 1-game difference between 5th and 8th right now in the West.
That's pretty wild, ain't it?
Yeah.
That is pretty wild. I mean, boy,
and
howdy.
if you want to extrapolate it out, there is a 2.5 game difference between 3rd and 8th. So you've got, because right now, as of this taping, Denver is 3rd, Lakers are a half game behind them at 4th. The Warriors are a game behind the Lakers for 5th. And then Memphis and Minnesota are tied for 6th and 7th, a half game behind them. And then the Clippers are 8th, a half game behind them.
Boy, and then you got Clippers in Dallas right there who are
There's a little bit of a gap between the Clippers and Like it's going to be there's the I guess we have to say 4-team race for I think Dallas is pretty they are I'm looking at this now. They are a game and a half up on Sacramento for 9th.
Yeah, the interesting part is though their next 2 games today and then Saturday, or is it Saturday? I think or today and Sunday are against the Clippers.
Yeah,
they got 2 in a row there. So yeah, things are interesting in that West. Yeah, you're right, man. That is absolutely tight. I mean, yeah, that's there's some intrigue here. Nothing's locked in. So the end of the season's going to be pretty fun. And like I said, if you would have told me that were the case, I wouldn't have believed you. I mean, I got the Nelson Muntz laughs at me when I said that the Blazers fully healthy. I had them. Hold on, turn that off. My bad. I had them as a 30-win team, fully healthy. If they're fully healthy and everything went to plan, they can win 30. Oh, you're crazy. Well, they won more than that. They put some things together, not the way that I saw it. But Sean, I want to get your take here because you're the insider. You're here covering this team like crazy. It's what I love about this team the last few weeks is I feel like a lot of the players that we wanted to see progression have shown that progression. I think even coach has shown progression, which is huge. And you look at this 2-game win streak, yeah, they went and beat Atlanta, who's not great. Yeah, they beat Toronto, who's not great. But there wasn't that batch of veterans leading them. It was Denny, and it was Tumani, and it was Shaden Sharp, and it was Donovan Clingan, the young guys that you want to be the core moving forward.
Yeah, the only real bummer, I think, on this current stretch that they're on is that Scoot's been out with the concussion.
Absolutely.
So I have no idea whether he's going to play again this season. He's obviously out tonight for the last game of the road trip. So, we'll see if he's cleared in the protocol or if they decide it's just not worth bringing him back. Personally, if that were me, I would, if he's cleared in the concussion protocol, if he passes all that stuff and they say he can play, I'd like to see him play for the last 4 games of the season.
Oh, absolutely. I would too. If he's cleared, get him out there and see what we can do. Get him in a bit of a groove. End on a good note, man, because I think you're seeing that out of Shaden Sharp right now. Multiple 30-point games over those 2 games. And kind of, I said this a while back that I really wanted the last, dozen games or so to be the moment where Shaden Sharp kind of announces himself, right? Like, hey, I'm here. Because we've seen flashes of it, but it just hasn't been consistent. And I feel like the last 2-3 games, especially the 2 30-pointers, like, he announced himself a little bit. That game in Toronto, I thought, yes, it's easy to say it looked great because he tied his career high, but he looked about as smooth as we've ever seen him comfort-wise within the offense.
Yeah, it's really been since the All-Star break, I would say, because there was that month after Chauncey benched him for the Bulls game in January, where he was playing well offensively after that, but then the defense still kind of came and went. And I was on that last road trip before the All-Star break, the one in Minnesota and Denver, where Scoot goes down with the ankle injury, and they end up just putting Chris Murray in the starting lineup instead of Shea, when everybody kind of thought it would be Shea going back in the starting lineup. And it was still, Chauncey wasn't happy with the defense. But the last month or so, the defense and the consistency on that end has gotten to the point where now Shaden is comfortably back in the starting lineup.
Which is great, because that's exactly what he was challenged to do. And I think when a player gets challenged, you either accept that challenge or you pout a little bit. Yeah. I don't think he pouted. I think he took that challenge. And Coach Bills has talked about it ever since that point, that, no, I think he's responded well. He's learning. He's doing this. And I still think there's some mistakes, but I do think, like, as to your point, like, defensively, he's still not, he's not too money or anything, but he's better, and that's all you can ask for right now.
Well, physically, he's got the tools to be really good on that, and he's got the ability. He's got the talent. It's just a matter of doing it consistently. That's kind of always been the thing with him. Yeah,
and I think he's the type of player you understand, too. Like, hey, you play good defense and your offense, you're going to be a guy that I'm going to have to pry you off the floor. Like, that's how you get there. I mean, that's how guys like Tumani, like, yeah, now he's worked on his offense, but his defense is going to get me on the floor. And it did. And now he's a stud. So I want to see where he grows. But offensively is what everyone really does focus on with Shea. And he's looked real good. He's looked real good.
Yeah.
the other players looked real good, Sean. Denny Avdia.
Yes.
I mean, you can look at his stats.
The stats are so funny to look at now
Yeah.
because you look at like since March 1st, there's like the list of guys that are averaging whatever he's averaging, and it's like him and then like Giannis and Jokic.
Yeah, and it's like his season stats are they're better, but still comparable to what he was last year in Washington. But there is just a stark difference in how he's playing now than how he ever played in Washington. And I know that Joe Cronin and Schmitz and everyone's like that's why they traded for him. I don't know if a lot of people saw this. It's easy in hindsight. Yeah, that's why we did it. But boy, howdy, I thought he was good. I know on draft night we've had some of the reporters who covered him and did cover some more Washington games were like, this is a really good trade for Portland. This is really good. He if they use him right, he can be good. Okay, that sounds good, but can we see it? Again, flashes all year long. Liked him in the preseason.
A little bit rough first month of the season.
Yeah, preseason it looked good, but you saw it was there. Rough, like you said, first part of the season. But then the last 2 months, he has asserted himself as the best player on this team and has been consistent, which has been huge.
Major. And, it's, to your point, Chris, about like what they thought they were getting when they traded for him. I think they thought that there was like a chance he had some all-star upside down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did not make this. I mean, obviously their plan going into the season was not to still be in any kind of play-in race or any kind of, playing for anything this late in the season. So they did not make that trade for this season that they are about to finish up. They made that trade for what they think that Denny Avdia could be in like 2 years when he's 25 or 26 and just entering his prime. And I think what they've seen out of him this year will make them even more confident that that ended up being a good gamble. And like, imagine how good he's going to be in 2 years if he keeps improving at the rate that he's been improving.
Gosh, if he keeps improving at the rate he's improving with the contract that keeps getting nicer and nicer.
Right.
Ooh, boy, you either have one of the most coveted trade pieces or the best person you want to have on your roster.
I don't think they're really interested in trading him.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying logically,
Sure.
here you have a guy that everybody's going to want because of the way the performance to contract ratio, right? And then again, a guy that you don't ever want to get rid of because it just has really nice to have that on your roster. So shout out to him because he's been incredibly fun to watch. It was interesting because I was comparing him a little bit to Damian Lillard the other day, and you're going to understand what I'm saying here because not because they're the same, but with Damian Lillard, he played the game a very specific way. So you started to get to understand how the game was going to go. He was always going to kind of come slow out of the gate, go through that feeling out process, try to get a couple players involved, and then eventually, maybe about midway through the second quarter, okay, now it's my turn, and he'd start taking over. But you started to see the script, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I compare him to Denny because Denny, the ups and downs of the early season was him finding himself, but now the script. It's I'm going to take the ball and I'm not wasting any time. I'm going to go right into the wall and just boom, boom, boom. That's why the first quarter against Toronto, 14 points, 10 points. It's like he's sitting there and he wastes no time. That's the script. That's the comparison. Not their play style, but the fact that you're starting to understand that when you watch certain guys play, they have an idea of how it's going to play out, and then they're going to make the game, react to them rather than them reacting to the game.
And that's something that has kind of grown over the course of the season because when, we were talking earlier about how he had kind of a rough first month of the season, a lot of that I think was because he was still trying to feel out like what he was comfortable doing. And he did, he's coming into a new situation. He doesn't want to overstep. He doesn't want to step on anybody's toes. Like it's Anthony Simons that's, nominally the point guard, and they want to, he doesn't want to like come in and say like, oh, I'm taking this guy's role or I'm doing, stuff that this guy should be doing or, whatever the case may be. But then as the season has gone on, it's just been drilled into him by Chauncey. Like, no, we want you to do this.
Yeah.
We want you to be taking charge. We want you to be the one initiating the offense. And as the season's gone on, he's gotten a lot more comfortable doing that and gotten a lot more willing to just go and do it and not feel like he has to ask anybody's permission to do it.
It's great when you give a player just a little bit of freedom. Sean Highkin, our Trailblazers insider for the Rose Garden report, joining us today on Blazers Game Day. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we're going to head to the coaches' corner. We're going to hear what Coach Billups had to say after that game in Toronto. And Sean and I are going to continue to talk about this roster, the likes, the dislikes, I'm going to put Sean on the spot because he did something that not a lot of reporters do. He wrote a great article about all the times he was wrong about the Trailblazers. We're going to ask
There's
him
a
about
lot
it
of them.
when we come back here on a Blazers Game Day on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here with you. If you want to join the conversation with us, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go over to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the conversation there as well. Time now, though, before Sean and I keep talking, to head to the Coach's Corner.
For the latest on tonight's lineup, injuries, and matchup, let's head to the Coach's Corner with Chauncey Billups.
All right, let's go back in time, hop in the DeLorean, get it up to 77 miles an hour, go to Toronto. Hear what Coach Billups had to say following that victory over the Raptors.
I just thought he played just a really mature game. That team, you give him a lot of credit. Darko's doing an incredible job. He got them pressure in, and I mean, we really struggled with their pressure. But we ended up kind of getting calmed down in the game, certain spots. But I didn't think Shaedon got sped up at all, which is an incredible compliment for a young player. And the way that they're pressuring, they can make it difficult for you. So I was really impressed with him. Only one turnover, too, knowing he's going to kind of playing a lot of backup point guard without Scootin' and out there. Delano's playing some, but yeah, I was really impressed with his game. I really was. It was like poetry in motion out there.
The word that keeps coming out from him and you is being aggressive. That's what you're asking of him. So when you see him being aggressive and able to take care of the ball, like you just mentioned, I mean, that's the perfect pairing, right?
Well, it is. It is. I mean, to me, it's just, he's learning how to be aggressive and pick his spots, and he's doing a really good job with it. And even if, he goes 14 for 23 tonight, but even if that was 10 for 23, the quality of shots that he's taken has been really good. You're obviously not going, that's a heck of a percentage that he shot tonight. You're not going to do that every night. But it's just about how you play, the intention that you play with. Did some playmaking as well, some tough rebounds as well. So I was very impressed with his game.
Coach, Danny had another great performance tonight. But what is for him the next step in terms of game and also mentality?
I think his mentality is where it needs to be and where it needs to stay. I don't think there's another step for that. He's been very aggressive. He's playing really hard. He's attacking at all times. His game is kind of coming around. He gets sped up in a lot of these situations. In another game, we had 7 turnovers. Something that you got to live with an aggressive attacking player. But as he gets more comfortable with it, that 7 goes to 3. But only that it just takes time. He's playing with the most freedom he's ever had. He's playing with the basketball more than he's ever done before. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. But obviously, Denny is playing amazing.
And also, just to follow up this question, like we're seeing this group of young players, like compared to last year, like how much they have improved. Overall, what have been the keys to that?
I think opportunity. Opportunity and just being in these situations a lot more this year, and even the times where obviously we're not very healthy right now as a team, but even the times that we have been healthy, these guys that we're talking about are in the rotation, playing a ton of minutes. Their roles fluctuate, depending on the health of our team and who's playing. But they've been aggressive the entire time. So, Shaedon's role has changed 2 or 3 times on our team this year. So has Denny's. If DA's playing or if Ant's playing, Jeremy's playing, they get less shots, less usage. But they're learning how to do it and be effective no matter who plays, which is a pretty good sign.
There you hear Coach Billups after the game, and joined now by Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report, our Trailblazers insider. And it's kind of something you and I were just talking about a little bit, just the feeling out process that Denny went through. Like, their roles have changed. He kind of, we're going to start you to figure out who you are, but then, hey, you're coming off the bench. You're kind of our 6th man. Injuries have pushed him back into the starting lineup. And quite frankly, like, if Jeremy Grant were a full go, I would be bringing Jeremy Grant off the bench right now. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the courageous thing to do, Chauncey. But man, I just love that you got him and Shea and these guys who get challenged, and coach asks them to do a thing, and they take the ball and they run with it. They take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I think before he got hurt, Scoot was the guy that was doing that too. I know there were some, obviously the first half of his season was a little bit rough too, but then, Chauncey kind of sat him down at one point and said, look, what you're doing, especially defensively, and I mean, all across the board, but especially defensively is, not what you need to be doing. And took it to heart, and, it's gone differently since then. And, you're kind of seeing that all up and down the roster. Like most of these guys at one point or another, like, had to be told to do something or not do something, and they've all kind of embraced it.
Yeah, and Scoot's another one, man. Like, you look at the performance, and I know that he gets a lot of expectations put on him, but I find it interesting. Like, Scoot can go out there, right, and he'll have a 6 turnover game, and everyone's like, oh, he's the worst. Denny goes out there and has a 6 turnover game, and they're like, oh, it's Denny's playing good.
You ever seen that
okay.
meme about flirting versus harassment?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what it is.
A lot of that is.
That's what it is. But Scoots, I thought he's been, especially pretty much once the calendar turned from 24 to 25, I thought he's been really good.
He has.
I think the expectations of A, being the 3rd overall pick, and B, the very, very large shadow of Damian Lillard that he's playing in, kind of cloud your judgment. But I do think when you look at those numbers for a second-year point guard and a point guard coming off the bench, he's not bad.
And it's not just, you look at his numbers, and his numbers have gotten better. Like, whenever I've talked to either Chauncey or, people in the front office or whoever about it, and I asked them, like, do you guys think that this is just, he's playing well for a couple weeks? Because, he had a pretty good 6 weeks to close out last season, too, and then it didn't really translate to the start of this season. But I've been asking folks in the organization, like, are you guys, do you think he's just hot for a couple weeks here, or is this real? And they've all said, no, Scoot has made some legitimate steps and taken some real, turned some corners. And I don't know if he's fully where he needs to be yet as far as, like, if he's going to be a long-term starter, but he's organizationally, they're very happy with the progress that he's made over the second half of the season. That's why I hope that he can get cleared from the concussion protocol before the season ends, because you don't want to see him end the season with, like, he was playing pretty well, but, he had a couple of bad games towards the end of that homestand, and then he had a concussion, and then he just didn't play again this season. You want to see him end the year, whether they make the play-in or not. You want to see him play the last 3 or 4 games of the season and end it on a positive note to go into the summer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Even if it's just one game, yeah, you want to see that. And I think the thing with him too, Sean, is like, even when you have those games where he has a lot of turnovers, one thing that's changed from my perspective is that he's making a lot more of the turnovers that a coach can deal with. Like, they can understand. Like, it's not lazy passes.
Right.
It's not, especially his rookie year, a lot of the driving up, like, okay, I'm in the air. Am I going to go for a lay-in, or am I going to pass the ball?
Not deciding what there's going to do. It feels like he has a lot more. Like, he makes his decision about what he's going to do, and then it either works or it doesn't, which is what you want for a young player.
And if it's a turnover, it's because he sees a window and he's trying to get it into the window, but he's trying to make a play. It's not a lazy pass.
Right.
It's not necessarily a bad decision. It's him trying to make plays and playing within the game. And those are the type of turnovers and mistakes, if you will, that a coach can go, I can live with that, because you're reading the game how I want you to read it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, I think the Blazers, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if they've just decided that he's not going to play again this season. But if I were them, if he's cleared from the concussion protocol, I'd like to see him play the last 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, and of course the concussions, man. Those are terrible. I've only had one, and it takes a minute sometimes to get through them.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's no joke. Like, I get it either way. Like, it's not something you want to play around with, and it's also not a firm timeline. If it's like a mild ankle sprain, you can probably say, like, oh, he'll be back in a couple weeks, because there's like a timeline for this is what the rehab process looks like. With concussions, it's totally, there are some guys where, Jeremy had one last year and he missed like almost a month. And then Jabari Walker just had one a few weeks ago and he missed 4 games, and then he was fine, and he's been fine since then.
All depends. All right, we're going to take a quick little break here on Blazers Game Day. When we come back, it's time for our Coors Cold Hard Facts. And as Smooth Jimmy once said, when you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time. You Simpsons fans will get that one. I'm going to tell you what that means here in the next segment. Coming up after the break, right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. A land of confusion is probably where a lot of us are at right now because,
It's a great song by
lottery.
Good pull.
Yeah, Genesis nailed it. But yeah, where are they going? Play in, all that? We don't know. No one knows. We'll find out over the next 5 games, probably sooner. But there's a couple other things we need to figure out. It's time for our Coors Cold Hard Facts.
It's time for the Cold Hard Facts, presented by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment. Choose chill, celebrate responsibly.
When you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the time.
Why didn't you say that before?
There you go. Homer Simpson, Smooth Jimmy, Apollo, and his lock of the week, And again, if you're right 52% of the time, you're wrong 48% of the times. That's just basic math, my friends. And the reason I bring that up is because that's a fact, a Coors Cold Hard fact, as it were. And Sean, you're right more than 52% of the time, but the times that you're wrong, at least you're man enough to admit to them. You were showing me the article you were writing over there. If you want to see his writing, go over there and subscribe to the Rose Garden Report. There you go, rosegardenreport.com.
Paid subscriber, get on it.
Absolutely. But Sean always will show me in the middle of a game. He's like, this is what I'm working on. And he shows me his headline. And I'm like, okay, that's a good article. And it was every time I've been wrong about the 2024-25 Trailblazers. So I got to ask you, Sean, what gave you the courage to bring that upon yourself? Hey, this is where I was wrong. And then, where were some of the places that you are probably pleasantly surprised you're wrong because it's led to fun basketball?
Well, I think I forget what it was, but I think there was something else I was working on. And what that did was it led me to go back and read something that I wrote earlier on in the season because I was going to link to it, or I was just going to reference something I wrote earlier in the season or something like that. I don't even remember exactly what it was, but then I read it, and there was something in there about this is still going to be one of the worst teams in the league, and I was like, I wonder how many times I wrote that. And so then that just kind of led me down this little rabbit hole of let me go back and look at my entire, last 6 months of stuff and see how many times I wrote, just definitively, matter-of-factly, that this team wasn't going to be good. And I was like, you know what? This would be kind of funny to put into a thing. That's one of these kinds of things, because that's a prediction that I feel okay about getting wrong because everybody else also thought that. And by everybody else, I don't just mean analysts. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to someone in the not Joe, but somebody of some prominence in the front office in the organization, and I told them that I was going to do this thing, and I told them that basically going back to July, I had been writing that it's just a fact that these guys are going to be one of the 5 worst teams in the league and be in the mix to draft Cooper Flagg, and this person was like, yeah, we thought that too. We thought that, I don't think anybody thought that they were going to be in the play-in. I think they would have been, pleasantly surprised if it had happened. But I don't think anybody really thought that was going to happen. And I think the thing that we all underestimated, there's a few things. One, I think we all underestimated how good Denny Avdia was going to be. We talked about that. I don't think anybody thought that he was going to be. I think obviously they were very high on him when they traded for him. They gave up a lot for him, and they are very high on him long term. But like I said earlier, I don't think that was a trade that they made for this season. So I don't think they thought that was going to be as immediately impactful as it ended up being. And the other part of it, I think, is also, we've talked about it over the course of the season, but the coaching situation where, if you're Chauncey, he's in the final guaranteed year of his contract. Everybody kind of knows he's not going to be back next year. If you're Chauncey, what motivation do you have to go along with the plan to try to lose games to help them get Cooper Flagg so somebody else can coach Cooper Flagg next season? So if you're Chauncey, you need to win these games. You're going to play these, you're gonna play the players that are going to help you win games because you need to show other teams that you can win because you're trying to, you're probably not going to be back here next year, so you're trying to get another job. And I think the Blazers, I think the front office, once that started happening, they weren't really motivated to stand in the way of it because they saw that a lot of these wins were being driven by Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp and Denny Avdia and Tumani Kamara. And so they were like, this is good that, these young guys that we have so much invested in are actually driving wins. So, let's go. Let's see how far they can go with this, even if it's, not the greatest thing for their lottery odds.
Yeah, it's working out right now. And again, the lottery odds, they are what they are. Cooper Flag, the idea of locking in number one chance, that one sailed away a long time ago, but it is a lottery, so you never know.
It's
what
not a
could happen.
0% chance that they get Cooper Flag. It's not a very high chance, but it's not zero. And all of these teams that have been tanking for the whole year, like, the Utahs and Washingtons and Charlottes and New Orleans and all these teams, only one of them is actually going to get Cooper Flag. Several of those teams are going to have done this for this whole year and won 14 or 15 games or whatever and not even end up getting Cooper Flag.
Well, there is this chance too, fellas. It's and this was something that was kind of funny last week because it was thrown out there. The Blazers have a better chance of getting Cooper Flag than Cooper Flag does of going back to Duke. So there is that.
Never know. If there's a team that could bring enough money to convince them to go back to Duke, it's Duke. But the point is, too, again, with the whole lottery thing, I broke down these numbers a while back. And that going back to what I think I went to like 1985, that in that time span, only twice have the teams who entered the lottery 1, 2, and 3 actually ended with the top 3 picks after the lottery. And only once has it been in the order of 1, 2, 3. The other one in 2016, it was 1, 2, 3, and in 1996 it was 3, 2, 1. So it's like only twice has that happened, right? And the number one spot that has won the most number 1 overall picks is actually the number 3 spot, not the number 1 spot. So again, it's a lottery. It's how it works. Now, if Portland ends where they're currently at, which is 9, that's gone up and won the number 1 overall pick twice.
This past year, Atlanta was 10th.
That's right.
So it's been done.
It absolutely has been done. And the last time the 9th pick got the number 1 overall pick was in 2014. So
what was New Orleans in 2019 when they jumped up to get Zion? I feel like they were pretty low.
In 2014?
19.
2019, you said? 7.
New Orleans, Zion. Yeah, 7. So that's...
Yep. So looking at my chart here.
And these guys were... When they got the Odin pick, they were like 6, but it was the old lottery odds where it wasn't as flat as it is now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, it's the odds change. We all know that, but it is just kind of crazy. Get you guys crazy.
The Bulls were 8th when they got Derrick Rose.
The Orb wants to get us some better lamps so we look less green yellow. We could just take the filters off. I could do that.
Oh, we just played a Simpsons clip, so maybe it's just we're in costume.
Take the filter off. I don't even have Sean's light on. Yeah.
I think it might be the Orb's computer, man. You look pretty good over here.
It could be.
Adjust that contrast, Orb.
Hey, we could blame the Orb, but also the Orb is on it. He is my de facto. He is my YouTube producer. He's always like, hey, audio's a little hot. To do this, do that. Hey, he helps us out. I need to get him on the payroll. Yeah. But again, the way the lottery is, we'll see where it goes. But I also have said this too, Sean. You get people who say, oh, the tank has been ruined. Joe Cronin's so bad, he's ruined the tank. If you're sitting here with 5 games left, right, and you still have a mathematical chance of getting in the play-in, and it's not like, yeah, we're 7 games back and with 7 to play. Like, no, you're right there and you're doing your thing. And for the most part, it's been your young guys who have led the charge, like you said.
Right.
Then the whole idea of tanking it's working, isn't it?
I mean, you want to have a base of talent that you can build with and you can win with, and getting these guys the experience of playing in games that matter, and not just saying, after February, oh, well, you guys have been playing well lately. You guys have been building some chemistry. You guys have been building something, but we're just gonna start making up injuries for you guys. We're gonna shut you guys down, and just the whole last 2 months of the season just doesn't matter at all. Like, we're just not gonna I don't know, man. Like, they did that the last 3 years, and it hasn't gone the way that you would hope it would go when that happens. So, like, at a certain point, maybe just try it a different way. And that's what they've done.
And I'll also tell you, man, like, the last few years with Dame, it was so frustrating to watch the team mail it in when you knew that, some of those guys were healthy enough to play.
Right.
Right? At least now you're like, hey, at least Rob being out, obviously. DA, that's a real injury.
Right.
Maybe Grant's a little suspicious how long that one's taking.
That's an interesting one,
But still, like, the gameplay is good, and there's still something to root for, and it's not like you're just rolling it out there hoping to lose, and I'll take that any day.
Tumani's out, by the way.
Oh, is that our update?
That's Tumani and Whopper out. Denny and Ant are still game time.
Yeah, Denny questionable. That's a late
thumb
addition.
soreness. That just came through. Yeah,
Thumb soreness.
so
Yeah,
we'll see.
Surprised.
I mean, he's been playing a lot lately.
Yeah, surprised not sore back from carrying so much.
Could be.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Blazers Game Day. When we return, it's time for our keys to the game. What do the Blazers need to do to get a victory in Chicago, where they no longer hang their banners up in the rafters anymore? My goodness, what a B ball club. Just kidding. They are pretty awesome, but it's a good story. Look it up. Disturbed burned their banners. Now Chicago has to fix them. They warped them. Didn't burn them, warped them. Still
How
kind
does
of a funny
23
story.
feel about that?
Still kind of a funny
That's
story.
what I'd
let me
like
tell
to
you
know.
what. Yeah, he's whatever. All right. We're going to come back here after the break. Don't go anywhere. Plenty more coming up on Blazers Game Day on your home of the Blazers, River City Radio 620. Oh, Disturbed will be in Portland on May 7th. Brendan's pulling out all the stops going to the Disturbed Deep Pulse. One of the better live bands. One of the better live bands I've watched. David Draymond. Boy, oh, his voice carries. All right, it is time, though. We're running against the clock. Sean and I get good conversations. We got a short segment here. Time for our keys to the game.
What will it take for a Trailblazers victory tonight? Here is Chris Burkhardt with his keys to the game.
All right, your Trailblazers are in Chicago tonight. The injury-riddled Blazers, obviously, you know the usual. No Ayton, no Henderson, no McGowans, no Williams. Grant's doubtful. Sounds like Tumani Kamara might not play. Reith might not play. And even Denny Avdia has been added to the injury list. He's questionable. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game here against a Chicago team that's not bad, but they're not great either. They have secured their spot in the play-in. We'll see what they do the rest of the way. But what do you think, Sean? What do the Blazers need to do to get a victory tonight?
Well, the guy that I'm certainly keeping an eye on tonight is, and the guy we talked about earlier is Shaedon Sharpe, especially now that, Denny Avdia seems like may or may not go. We'll find that out soon. But they're running out of guys that can really carry them offensively. We don't know if Simons is going to go. He's missed the last 2 games, so I would maybe guess that he doesn't going to go. If Denny doesn't go, Shaedon's kind of next up. And so, he had a huge game in Toronto yesterday, so I think they kind of need a lot from him again.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the official update, but we did get word from Casey Holdall that, Ant and Denny are to be determined. Jeremy Tumani and Reith all out. So, that's a tough break. And, if those guys are out, then, you're going to need another solid performance from Shea. The only bad part is there are going to be a lot of defenders watching him, and he's going to command their presence, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll see where they go there. What I want to see, and he's had some decent little performances here, and it's not going to change overnight. This is obviously an off-season thing, something I'm looking forward to next year. But a game like today, if everyone else is out, it just find a way, even if you're going to take the tough loss, I would say find a way to just run some offense through Donovan Clingan and just see what happens. I know that there's a lot to be desired there, but the same thing with his conditioning early in the year. I was a big guy arguing the best way to fix that is to get runs and play 15, 20 minutes. Funny that now that he's starting and he's getting those minutes, conditioning's not really something we're talking about. So run a little offense through him, especially if you only got, 7 healthy bodies.
Well, that's the thing. They kind of don't have a choice but to do that because now, especially now if WAP's out tonight, like it's basically Donovan and Jabari Walker. And, normally they play Denny a little bit at the 5. If Denny doesn't go, Donovan Clingan, for those that wanted to see Donovan Clingan play 33, 35 minutes a game, might be the game for you to watch tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess a true key to the game to in this one would be Donovan Clingan not getting in foul trouble. Because if he gets in foul trouble early, especially if Denny doesn't play, who we've seen him at small ball 5, you're going to be in trouble. So I think foul trouble is going to be a key in this one, especially with limited bodies. Thanks for joining me, Sean. As always, you guys can go follow him on social at Highkin, and make sure you go subscribe and read all his content there. Our insider at the Rose Garden Report, rosegardenreport.com. We're going to get out of here, though. Don't go anywhere, because coming up next across the Trailblazers Audio Network, Chad Doing has your Trailblazers pregame show. Tip-off at 5 o'clock when your radio voice of your Trailblazers, Travis Demers, takes over. And as always, when it's all said and done, keep it locked in for the 5th quarter, where hopefully we're breaking down a Trailblazers victory. Rip City, we'll talk to you after the game.